all the people in the conversation. The chat function is at the bottom, so feel free to chat away, add some thoughts down there, but please be respectful of other people, and be mindful not to jump over one another when you are talking, and jumping over another one when speaking. So, but feel free to interject in the conversation without being called upon. But if you do feel like you want to add something and you want to get into that conversation, just use one of those reactions down below, like a thumbs up, and I'll just try to get you in the next available moment. And then please try to keep yourself muted when you're not speaking to avoid some of the background noise. So without further ado, Ross.
Great, thank you. Thanks everybody for having me here. I've been an admirer of Green Building Councils for a long time. I remember watching Jimmy Carter in the 1970s when he was talking about our energy problems, and I thought, you know, what we really need to be doing is changing our infrastructure and addressing the structural problems that we've got. So that's what brought me to the Sierra Club, because it is the largest grassroots environmental organization in the country, and it's very active within the political sphere. We have over 10,000 members in Missouri. We have 7 staff people, and addressing climate change is our #1 goal. We also have hiking if you like to get outside. We're not doing it right now, but we will be again someday soon. Politically, we do endorsements of ballot measures and candidates. For example, we have endorsed the no vote on Amendment 3, which undermines the Clean MO ballot measure that was passed in 2018 and gives us, it would give us a traditional method of drawing legislative districts, and we would rather see more balanced legislative districts. We think that's fair and more democratic, and so we're in that game. We do endorsements of candidates, mostly state legislative candidates. We maintain records of incumbent candidates, and if you do Google Missouri Sierra Club legislative scorecard, you can see our scorecard online that lists, it breaks it out by legislative session. The 2019-2020 session is out there now. And when we evaluate incumbents, we look at that. When we're looking at federal level candidates, then we would go to the League of Conservation Voters website, lcv.org, where they do a similar scorecard for federal level candidates. For non-incumbents, we give them questionnaires, sometimes interviews. We would have questions on the questionnaire like, do you support selling state parks? That's an issue right now. Do you want to increase the cap for net metering of solar energy? Do you want to increase the renewable energy standard? These kinds of issues that correspond to what I assume you all are interested in. We've worked on building codes. We helped get a compromise building code established in St. Louis County that we hope other counties will use as an example. We carry out active work. We endorse, we pursue our members with information about our endorsed candidates, and we can break that out by their location. So we can send them emails, we can send them postcards, phone calls. We've done, I didn't know how many thousands of phone calls. From what I can gather, I have personally done over 2,000 phone calls so far this year for people we've endorsed, like Jill Shoup and many of the local candidates like Bill Otto and Paula Brown. Here's an example of the postcards. Well, you probably can't tell too much, but you can see that this is a card endorsing Nicole Galloway and describing some of the problems with Governor Parson. On the building codes issue, the compromise that we worked out, along with many others, I'm making it sound like we were the only ones involved there, but the commercial buildings were, by our data, would be 24.5% more energy efficient, following the new building code. Residential, 15% more efficient. That was a long struggle. And we endorsed Sam Page and other candidates like Rita Hurd Days and Kelly Dunaway, because they did take a risk and support building codes on the county council. There was an attempt to defeat Kelly Dunaway, which a candidate mounted by the Home Building Association fortunately went down to defeat. And of course, we worked on behalf of Kelly. Finally, the legislative committee does lobbying. Of course, we were restricted in that this year, but we do go to the state legislature, we do go to the county councils, we go to hearings, we talk about our issues, and we give people handouts so that they know what we're supporting and why. Issues like climate, renewables, air and water pollution, addressing that, conservation, confined animal feeding operation regulation, maintaining public lands and parks. And finally, if you want to find our endorsements, you can Google Missouri Sierra Club election endorsements and find that online. And that's what I've got in my notes, and I'll pass it back to you.
So I'll throw out a first just kind of question or topic. So one of the things that you mentioned, Ross, was why, so that the Home Building Association was against energy efficiency codes. Is that what you said?
Yes.
So why specifically would they be against that?
Their argument is that the added expense of a more energy efficient building will raise the costs and make it difficult for people to purchase homes, especially new homes, which of course is their primary interest. And it turned out to be very important to them. They gave Mr. Mantovani, I'm forgetting the number now, I think it was $500,000 for his campaign, which is a pretty big chunk for a single organization. And of course, we can't come near matching that. We're working with volunteers and whatever we can scare out of people for our PAC. We're under the tax code, we're a 501c3 organization, as well as a 501c4, which means we can donate to candidates as the C4, and we also have a PAC, and there are certain activities that can only be done with the PAC. So we are a multi-faceted organization that does what we can to engage in politics everywhere we can with the resources we've got.
Anybody else have
your question?
Yeah. Anybody else have any hot topics that they would like to discuss?
We would love to have more people joining the Sierra Club. We do put a lot of effort into politics and changing elections, and you can find membership information online. You join at the national level.
So what are some of the what are some of the biggest legislations getting traction right now?
Well, we're fighting to maintain our state parks. Under Governor Nixon, we added 4 state parks to our system. And the alternative was likely that those parklands would be sold and used as ranch land for pasture. Well, whenever you take parkland out of park usage, then you are taking sequestration of greenhouse gases, and you are turning it over into pasture lands that will increase global warming. Of course, in Missouri, we have a lot of bovines, and they are notorious for having gastrointestinal systems that put out a lot of methane. And so it's a climate change issue as well as a parks issue, a direct parks issue. So that's a double issue for us. We've lobbied for net metering. Currently, when someone has solar energy on their home, they can only sell back to the grid 100 kilowatts per annum, and that's very restrictive, and we'd like to increase that number. That's an issue that's been active in the last few years. Increasing the renewable energy standard is something we've lobbied for. Maybe you all have interest in a particular issue. Solar Bill of Rights is another issue we've lobbied on. That's been less active in the last session. There are some Republicans who support making sure that people have the right, regardless of what homeowners associations tell them, that they have the right to erect a solar installation on their facility.
I'd like to hear from some of the group too. What is, and I think you bring up a really good point, Ross, like what are, because you threw out that question, what are some of the #1 concerns or things that people are really wanting to get or have accomplished? So I'm interested to hear from the group, what are those concerns that they're thinking about?
You mentioned accomplishments. While people are gathering their thoughts, I'll throw in that when we maintain our pretty close relationships with legislators, we do get feedback. And we were told when we were working on the 4 state parks that it was our work that made the difference, that we did get to retain the new parks because, or at least all 4 of them, because we had worked so hard on that. And it was a close run thing in the legislature. And of course, Governor Nixon was wholeheartedly in support, and we can't say the same for Mike Parson. So we did get good feedback from people that we were in there pitching, and it made a difference.
One thing that has come up recently or came out recently is the movie by Patagonia called Public Trust. It's about the fight for America's public lands. So that's been a little bit something I've been interested in. I think my question is like, how can I help, or what are some of those resources? And it sounds like Sierra Club, maybe just checking out the website is a great way to start.
Yes.
If you have any other suggestions.
Yes, that would be the national website that you'd want to go to for a federal issue like that. And of course, we're very much in support of maintaining public lands and keeping them free of oil and gas installations, drilling operations. And you could Google the name of the act if you know it, and Sierra Club, and if you want to go for the national office, that's in Oakland, California. I don't know a great deal about that. I have to tell you, I have to confess that I'm pretty preoccupied with state level issues and sometimes local level issues, and I don't have as much time to look at the federal issues because I know we have our national office will be working on those. We also have a political national office in Washington, D.C., and actually they might, that might be where the activity is happening on those issues.
There are some questions in the chat. Does the Sierra Club have resources on working against scheduled pesticide, I can't pronounce that word, aerosolized treatments in St. Louis County or the surrounding areas? Because Baldwin automatically fogs all summer without the use of data or evidence.
That's an issue that we talk about. We didn't have state legislation that we worked on in regard to that issue in the last session that I'm aware of. But we had a public forum on pesticides and the health effects of pesticides, and we were on maybe it was 3 local television channels with that program. So we are trying to educate the public. Our 501c3 organization is called the Sierra Club Educational Foundation. And so that's a lot of what we're doing as well as active political work. We're trying to, just raise awareness much of the time.
And then also, Becky would like to learn more information about like regenerative agriculture or a more local food system, or what's going on with that, if there's anything.
We're more about hiking and parks, and that's really how our organization got started. Is a lot of our hikers are totally into gardening, but it's not something that we address per se so much. There are other organizations that do that. With hiking, we have a number of different things, and you can find that on our Missouri Sierra Club website. You can find on our Eastern Missouri group website, you can find our outings information. But of course, right now, we're not doing outings because that means people may get close to one another. At least for now, we're holding off on that.
I know for one of the legislative pieces, I know that Panera Bread Company was actually trying to lobby is for the classification of what an egg consisted of, because they were trying to illustrate the fact that many restaurants say they have eggs when it's really just a powder egg or a different type of a substance. So trying to define an actual egg was an important feature for them.
Yeah, hard for a hen to recognize that as her own, isn't it? We do concern ourselves with food issues. I can tell you, I happen to work with food programs at the USDA, and there was I retired 10 years ago, but there was a big movement to support farmers markets. The workplace where I was at, we actually held farmers markets on site, and there is a movement within the USDA to expand access to food, and especially in lower income communities. And of course, that's something that we at Sierra Club would support. We're very interested in addressing environmental racism and the needs of people in communities that are often victimized by pollution. And that's become a primary issue for us at local and national levels.
It looks like we had a question come in from Christopher, wanting to know a little bit more information about, he said, in the last 12 months, there have been several large fires in Illinois, recycling plants that have resulted in smog and foul odors reaching the city and county. Is there anything we can do about this or learn more information?
Well, recycling's a problematic issue all around. Since the Chinese have decided to refuse to take a lot of our recycling materials, we've created a different economic structure for the recycling plants, and I know that they're under a great deal of duress because of that, and I think we're going to find that we're going to have to make structural changes to the way that we do recycling. As far as the fires are concerned, that's not an issue that I'm familiar with myself. Regulation of recycling, I think, takes place at the county level. So that would be something to get involved with your county council member. There's a lot that happens at the county council, at the county level, and a lot of people don't realize how important it is. So it's worth getting involved there and finding out more about environmental and energy issues.
So just on that note, I'm interested to hear from you. Do you feel like we've got more power at the local, state, or national level to implement some of these changes?
Well, I used to read a lot of national magazines, and sometimes that would leave me with a feeling of futility. It's so big, it's so hard to change. I felt powerless. Since I've gotten involved at the state and local level, that's transformed my attitude toward what is possible. And I would encourage everyone to think more about, subscribing to a newspaper if you don't currently, or checking it out online, keeping up with that. The newspapers do not do a good job of tracking the state legislature. They don't do a good job of tracking county councils and local governments. And we need to talk to the media organizations and tell them, we want to know what's going on. We want to know what policy is happening. I know a media organization did a study of local news, and they found that on average, local newscasts have a fraction of 1 minute that concerns government actions and policy at the local level. So it's something that really needs to change, and I hope you'll become a lobbyist on behalf of better media coverage, and then using that better media coverage to work at the local and regional levels. You'll feel more powerful.
I know sometimes it feels like we are so focused at the national presidential sort of level that we do lose focus of what is really happening at a local. And there are a lot of really positive things that are happening, but there is a lot of things that we can probably push to do at more of a local level. And we probably lost focus on that.
Yes. Yes, and I really recommend having good sources of information. NPR does a lot, and the Post-Dispatch I think is a very good newspaper, but it could use more focus on government issues at the state level, especially. Actually, I think they've been doing a pretty good job with a lot of the controversies in the county here in the city.
With that said, I have not done my due diligence as being a good citizen, so I don't know exactly what's on the ballot coming up in November as a St. Louis City resident. So is there anything specific related to what the Sierra Club like policy and like bills out there that are being voted on this November?
Yes, well, Amendment 3 is something at the state level that I would urge you strongly to vote no against that amendment. It's really a capture of the Clean Mo initiative in 2018 and undoing it to a great extent. The ballot wording is confusing because they've added a tiny bit of money, a restriction on lobbyists, but the real heart of the amendment is that it would take away an independent state demographer who's supposed to draw up our districts and make them more equal and more competitive, more democratic. It would also count the voters, count the residents of Missouri differently. It will not count children, which will result in lower representation of minority voters because there are higher numbers of young people proportionately in those populations. And it will do something else that I was going to tell you about, but I've forgotten now what that was. But I would urge you to vote no on that. I live in the county, so I'm more familiar with what's going on in the county sometimes. St. Louis has done a great thing. They passed a 100% renewable energy standard by 2035, maybe it's 2030 even, and they do have committees working on that. I could mention that there's another group that does a good job of coordinating around energy issues in Missouri, and I want to tell you their name. The Missouri Clean Energy Coalition. Sierra Club is a member of that and a guiding force within that. And I'm not sure if the Green Building Council is a member of that, but if you're not, I would urge you to become a member of the Missouri, of that group.
Is there anything in particular for the county that you're voting on?
I can't think of anything directly related to our issues. Of course, do check out our endorsements online. You can Google Missouri Sierra Club election endorsements, and that will take you to that place. The Eastern Missouri group will give you local endorsements, and we have endorsed a lot of our state legislators.
That's perfect. That's a pretty good place to end there because we are at about our time right now. So yeah, I would encourage everybody to go out and check out those endorsements. And just to like kind of wrap everything up, just to let everybody know that this month, so our next evening program for the U.S. Green Building Council, we have an event that we're partnering with the women scientists on, and it's called Women in Green. It's an evening program on October 14th. So it's a panel of women who are going to be presenting on their work they're engaged in, which aligns with solutions highlighted in the project drawdown. So I would really encourage everybody checking out that program that we have. I'm really excited about it because I think we're going to have some really great women who are going to be speaking about their work and their impact on the environment. Freddie, do you have any additional comments before we end the call?
No, that was great. Thanks for mentioning that Women in Green event. And thank you so much, Ross, for being here this morning and sharing your knowledge with us and being open to, join us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
And thank you everyone for being here as well. We appreciate it, and hope you enjoyed this little 30-minute conversation.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye, Victoria. Bye, Sierra. Bye, Becky. Bye, Sarah.